Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Valerie Hunt, RunRx, Ask Me Anything. Hope you had a great holiday if you celebrate. We've had a great week because we did a flash special, and we got to welcome a bunch of new people into the membership. And so one of the fun things is I get to meet some of you guys through your gait analysis, and we initially met either through live like this or you watched a video. So this week's questions I thought were so great to it's almost the new year, people are getting back into running, the races are all coming back out. So the first question I got this week, and feel free to ask a question because I can see if you ask a question in the comments. First question we got this week was a fun one, and it's such a great thought. The question was, how does it work to retrain a movement that you've done naturally all of your life? And it's a really powerful question because our whole life, especially those of us that grew up in the States, when we went to go running, you know, if you were, say, in PE class at school, your teacher would say, go run, and off you go to go run. And then as an adult, you're like, okay, I'm gonna sign up for a marathon or a 5K or whatever the race is. And what are the instructions? The instructions are go get some good shoes, maybe a good watch, heart rate monitor, you know, some good earphones, and go run. And then the training plans are like, go run 3 miles, or go run so many miles, or maybe do hills, or, you know, so all of a sudden you're out there and you're running. And for me, I'm the run pain-free lady, so I get people, unfortunately, when they're like, well, I did all that. I bought the shoes and I went out running. And then I help you kind of retrain your run. It's exactly right. It's exactly what I help you do. And then the thing that people say, and I really like to talk about this as well, is that isn't running natural? Like, shouldn't we all know how to run? You know, the teacher would say, go run, and no one raised their hand and said, how? We just said, okay, and we went and ran. And so the challenge then becomes something that you figured out you're running through natural movement on your own, and then mimicking. As soon as you start to pay attention to what other people are doing, you start to alter your movement. We all do. It's how we learn. And just think of all the running pictures. When we see people running, right? The best part of running, I think, those pictures where like their feet are way separated and the wind is in their hair and they're smiling and it looks so fun. So because we've seen this image of the runner in the air and the legs really separated, most of us, for endurance running especially, have had that mindset. And I was taught to do this. Like the first time I decided to really start running, like race running, more than recreational running, I was told to push off my back foot and then extend my front to extend my stride, right? And I didn't question, just so you guys know. When I went to the running shoe store, the guy was a really good runner. I really respected him. I thought he knows what he's talking about. He's selling shoes and he's a runner, right? There wasn't any internet back then. And the reason he thought that isn't because he's so much wrong, was just because A, that's how he was taught, and that's what we see, right? So we're running how we see running, how we perceive running, how we think running is. And then we see them, the faster runners, their arms are moving really fast, right? So then you thought, well, I should move my arms really fast. You ever watch little kids? You know, you're like, all right, we're gonna do a race. All right, ready, go. And I mean, they tear out and they're just, woo, boy, they're moving. And then the ones that can keep going. And then the rest of them are like, yeah, good. They start out too fast, right? They don't have that race strategy. But in the beginning, it's just movement. And when we're little, you know, before we're really like in group sports or anything like that, little, you move just how you interact with gravity. You're not really worrying about being correct, you're just feeling what movement is. Then you start to become, you start to mimic or get comfortable in that movement pattern, and that is how you move. So here's the thing. We all have what's called a natural blueprint for running. Isn't that cool? So what that means is every one of us has the ability to free fall. We just don't think about it as adults. As kids, we loved it. You kidding? When that teacher said go out and run, what's the first thing kids do? Woo! Right? We lose that as an adult because it's A, not talked about ever, and B, we've spent all of our life not falling and standing up, right? So it's important to kind of have that first thought. Second, so you have to open your mind. To change your run, the first thing you do is open your mind to really what is running. And I had never thought of running as free falling either. But now I've been spouting it for 22 years, and I'm telling you, it just gets more fun. I love running. I love looking forward to, can I today even connect more? Because it's a forever skill. You can always improve for the rest of your life on your relationship, on moving with gravity, right? It's so cool. So that's number one. First, I have to accept that there is a skill of running. Because again, there's not really an accepted standard. It's still just go out and run. So that's number one. And the second is to understand, in order to use gravity the best, the optimal way for me to use gravity, you to use gravity, runners, is to stand and be in the running pose. So this is the figure 4. Now this position is very commonly known and is referred to as the 4 because from the hip down we are making a 4, right? So every runner runs through the pose. You want to have the intention of pose. That's the difference. So just getting better at this, balance, my posture, my ears, shoulders, hips in line, right? That's for anything. Any movement you're going to do, it's going to be correct to hold that line. And this is the optimal position, pose, for the body to be in to free fall. Then the action itself is called pulling. When your body free falls forward, foot pulls up from the ground. It's a natural response. You're born with it. Your hamstring has this amazing, amazing reflexive potential of the muscle, meaning this. If you do nothing, if you simply free fall and pull the foot, the hamstring brings the foot right under the hip so that you can recover that running pose. Isn't that nice? And if I allow that to happen when I fall and I just pull the foot and let the hamstring finish its job, that's how you retrain yourself. You just break it down to the 3 elements of what is running. Running itself is actually free falling. What is the action of running? The action of running is pulling my foot up as my body falls forward. It takes out the, there's no emote with it. Meaning I am in no way saying to people, I invented running. Pose invented running, and not at all. We just, well, Romanov, that's who I learned from, was able to start to see, wow, if every runner would just get better and more connected with letting themselves free fall, their hamstring already knows what to do. It's amazing. Your hamstring knows how to do this. So when people talk about running is natural, you bet. But a lot of us have not used our hamstrings correctly when we run. So all you're really retraining, honestly, is correct movement patterns. And once you start to realize it makes sense, it's almost like a puzzle. You're like, oh, that makes so much sense. In my mind, it makes sense. My body, it makes sense. It really makes sense in your run. Then you worry less about what you used to do. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter what I did. It matters, what can I do now? Well, now I know I can work on getting my upper body to hold this, right? By doing practice exercises like standing in your running pose, which is amazing how hard it is to get people to practice balance. But running is simply, it is balance. You're balancing on one foot, and the quicker you can change support, then the quicker you can run. So the fun part is everyone has the natural ability, and then you can practice, and then you can just make that so much better. So isn't that fun? All right, one more thing, and this is kind of something you guys should all try with me. So the first part was yappy, talky, thinking. Now we're going to do a little bit of movement. So the second question somebody asked is the action of pulling similar to a pendulum, or is running kind of like a pendulum? So let's just for just a second, this is kind of fun. So try this with me. There's a drill called the pendulum. So if you stand up for just a second, so all of your weight's on one, just pick one foot, it doesn't matter which one. The knee is nice and bent. When can you switch feet? Is really the thought of this drill, but it's a pendulum because you're going to pull your foot, you see? Pendulum. So all you're doing is shifting your body weight. When you sense your foot is on the ground, you get off. Because you're basically, ideally you're replacing yourself, right? So this foot should land where that foot was. So I have a nice mat I can see. You see, all I'm doing, it's called change of support. So this is a pendulum, right? So and it has to be at the right time. So we think less pendulum. Now, if I wasn't gonna move, if there was no falling element, then sure, you could call it a pendulum. However, right now, this is just an active muscle movement, right? There's no gravity taking me forward. So in the pendulum, your body weight is shifting. So pendulum, right? The body weight or the weight of the pendulum is what dictates everything. For us, it's the fall element, and then it's how we respond to transfer of body weight. So think more of a piston than pendulum. However, the pendulum drill is so good to just help you feel. I can only pull my foot up from the ground when my foot is under me. See, up, 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 up. So piston more than pendulum, because I can only have one foot on the ground or I'm not running. This is important, guys. If both feet are on the ground at all times, you're actually just walking fast versus running. Running, by definition, at some point, both feet have to be in flight. So if you think piston, it'll help you, because if this foot's up, the other one's down, this one's up, that one's down. See? Up, 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 up. That's how it's different, right? And if you try both drills, so here's a quick thing. I love questions like that because it means you were thinking about it. I just want to make sure you understand that the effort in running, it's cardiovascular as my heart rate's up, but it's in holding this upper body in the right spot so that the change of support can happen. So that's the more important thing. So when I'm in place and I do a pendulum, you should try this drill, by the way, it's a lot of fun. Your body weight's here, use your shoulders a little bit, upper body, to unweigh the foot. And it's the same rhythm, see? Up, up, up. And I'm not worried about putting my foot anywhere. I'm only responding when I feel my foot take my, it's like hot potato. When you get more and more comfortable that in your run too, you don't have to do anything but leave the ground. It's hard in place and it's hard in practice to sense that, but the more you can sense that, you'll let go of trying to control all of the movement, right? Remember I said in the beginning, we think in the beginning we're supposed to pump our arms and move our legs, but it really just makes you tired. So a fun thought to have next time you go for a run is, if it's feeling like a lot of effort in my feet and my legs, can I take my upper body up and slightly to lead, right? Can I fall just a little bit? So I'm gonna give you one last fun thing to try with me. So I'll give you the pendulum. So last thing to try. This is kind of fun. So put one hand on your chest and put one hand on your back like this, okay? And I want you to use your bend, of course. Take your upper body like a half inch forward. You can feel pressure in your hand. Now just pull your feet. Think up, 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 up. I want you to press with the back of your hand for just press for 3. 1, 2, 3. Now let go. Did you travel or did you stay in place? If you stay in place, you might have taken your shoulders back. If you traveled, what I was trying to get you to feel is I had my upper body kind of up and forward, but I'm always leading with my hips. So when I let go, my body was ready to start falling. The more you can kind of feel that for a second, in place, remember piston, I'm always gonna feel this. It's your upper body, zip your jacket, hold your line, and let it go forward. And you'll start to feel that fun fall feeling. And then it's just you holding that beat. So for the person that asked about the that pendulum, think about like using a metronome that ding, 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 up, 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 really helps you develop the rhythm of the cadence of pulling. Just keep in mind, like I said, if I run and I feel like my feet are doing all the work, this is your, I'd love to hear some feedback if you try this. Take that upper body and let yourself free fall and have some fun with it. So if every time you run, you think a little bit more about just that free fall, feeling less effort even, it's amazing. It'll just start to become, like I said, a part of your running. You'll start to feel that more. And I think a lot of us disconnected from what running feels like because most of us weren't really taught. So it's a retraining, yes. However, it's taking you back to where you should be. So that's a good way to think and look at it. All right, guys, thank you so much. I don't see any questions, which is it's okay too. If you ever have a question, you can comment here. You can send us an email. Happy to answer your questions. And if you haven't ever gone through our reboot, we've got a great YouTube 30-day reboot. If you're getting back into running, it takes you through skill, strength, and self-care. It's a lot of fun. If you have a twinge or something's bothering your run, we have a free quiz on our website, runrxquiz.com, and it will give you a skill, strength, and self-care tip to try to maybe help you think about your run a little bit different, give you something to practice, and hopefully help you get out there running pain-free, guys. All right, have a great week. See you next time. Thank you.